Michael was the picture of success. Every morning as he woke up in his luxurious home, he found himself in a world that seemed to have been crafted just for him. The sun filtered through the silk curtains in the bedroom, casting a gentle glow over the bed where he and his wife, Emily, still enjoyed the last moments of peace before starting the day. Emily, with her warm smile and generous heart, was the perfect balance for Michael. Together they had built a life that many could only dream of. Their daughter Lily completed the picture with her infectious laughter and curious eyes that hinted at a promising future. Michael was a successful man. His prestigious position at a renowned company not only ensured an excellent salary, but also earned him respect and admiration in the professional world. He led a dynamic team, always engaged in innovative projects that shaped the market. Recognition wasn't just a bonus, it was an integral part of his daily life. On weekends, the family enjoyed outings on their comfortable boat, sailing across the crystal-clear waters of a nearby lake. The afternoons were filled with family activities and laughter that echoed throughout the house. Michael and Emily shared a bond that seemed unbreakable, and their daughter's happiness was a testament to a life well lived. Michael's success wasn't just a reflection of his hard work, it was also a testament to the strength and love of his family. Every shared meal, every tight hug, every look of pride from Emily and Lily was a confirmation that his life was exactly as he had envisioned it. For Michael, the feeling of fulfillment was tangible and constant. The world around him seemed to move smoothly, carried by the rhythm of happiness and achievement. Life was, without a doubt, perfect. Michael's morning started like any other, with the aroma of fresh coffee filling the kitchen and the cheerful sound of Lily's laughter echoing down the hallway. However, that day, the normalcy was about to be disrupted by an unexpected shadow. At work, Michael was adjusting his tie, getting ready for a meeting he believed would be yet another opportunity to shine. He walked into the conference room with his usual confidence, expecting to discuss strategies and new opportunities. But instead of enthusiastic colleagues and future plans, he was met with a group of executives wearing serious expressions. The atmosphere shifted instantly. Words like restructuring and staff cuts floated in the air, and the sense of unease grew with each passing second. Michael tried to process what was happening, but the executive's final words, "Unfortunately, your position has been eliminated," echoed in his mind like a distant sound. The shock was almost physical. Those words rippled through Michael's mind like a wave sweeping everything in its path. He left the room with his heart racing, his legs unsteady under the weight of the news. The hallway seemed endless, and the daylight, once comforting, now felt cruelly cold. Reality hit him with overwhelming force. The pride Michael had built over years of hard work was crumbling. The security he had provided for his family now felt like an illusion. The thought of having to tell Emily and Lily about the layoff terrified him. When he got home, the atmosphere was different. The house, once filled with warmth and joy, now felt like the setting of a silent nightmare. Emily immediately noticed the change in Michael's face. His usual smile was absent, replaced by an expression of despair and confusion. Michael tried to explain, but the words came out weakly, as if they were fighting against gravity. The conversation that should have been about future plans was now centered on a present that had fallen apart. The impact of the layoff was devastating, not just for Michael but for his entire family. The certainties they had built were unraveling before their eyes, and the shadow of insecurity now loomed over them, threatening to engulf everything that once seemed so solid. Are you enjoying the story so far? Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any stories like this one. The weeks following Michael's layoff were a whirlwind of activities and emotions. The brightness of their previous life seemed to be fading slowly, replaced by the harsh reality of a new and uncertain journey. The luxurious home, which once symbolized success and prosperity, now became a constant reminder of what had been lost. The change wasn't just physical, it was a deep transformation. Every corner of the house, once filled with laughter and happy conversations, was now wrapped in an aura of sadness and nostalgia. Michael and Emily spent hours going through the rooms, packing up memories that grew heavier with each box they sealed. Selling the house was a painful process, Michael and Emily had to part with items that symbolized their achievements: elegant furniture, valuable artwork, and the collection of travel souvenirs that adorned the walls. Each object carried a story, a testament to the effort and dedication they had poured into building their life. The new house was simple, but there was nothing cozy about it. The peeling paint and modest furniture were a stark contrast to the opulence that had once surrounded them. Michael and Emily spent their days adjusting to the new environment, trying to turn the coldness of the place into a home, but the weight of their loss was still palpable. Lily, in her innocent way, tried to understand the reason for the change, asking why things had changed so drastically. The first night in the new house was marked by silence. The walls, which seemed to be waiting for an answer, echoed the emptiness that filled the space. Michael and Emily sat on the living room floor, surrounded by unpacked boxes, trying to find comfort in each other. The feeling of falling was overwhelming, as if they were descending into an endless abyss, grasping for any hope of recovery. The simplicity of the new home felt like a cruel contrast to the grandeur they had once known. Every detail of the new environment served as a reminder of the fragility of their situation. Michael tried to keep hope alive, but the reality of their new circumstances was becoming an increasingly heavy burden to bear. The months that followed their move to the new house were a constant struggle. The tension between Michael and Emily, once barely noticeable, began to surface in every little disagreement and sideways glance. The weight of the changes was not only in the walls of the new home but also in their daily interactions. The nights were particularly tough. Michael, still trying to recover from losing his job and find a new path, spent hours searching for opportunities and sending out resumes. He was exhausted, but the pressure to find a solution seemed to grow with each passing day. Emily, on the other hand, was struggling to adjust to their new reality. The financial stress and sense of insecurity began to turn into frustration and disillusionment. The atmosphere at home was heavy. Small disagreements, which might have been resolved with a smile or a hug before, now escalated into heated arguments. The sadness and fear were palpable in every exchange. Michael's desire to stay hopeful and determined clashed with Emily's exhaustion and worry. As she started to question whether the life they once knew would ever return, Emily tried to be strong, but the pressure was overwhelming. She began to feel that life with Michael was becoming a burden. The dream of a stable and comfortable life was being replaced by a nightmare of uncertainties and financial struggles. Conversations about the future turned into heated arguments filled with hurt and accusations. The situation came to a head one particularly difficult night. Michael, exhausted and frustrated, had spent the entire day in a series of unsuccessful interviews. When he got home, he found Emily with a determined yet sad look on her face. She called him for a talk in the living room, a space that now seemed charged with the energy of unspoken words and repressed feelings. The conversation was painful. Emily expressed her fears and anxieties, and between her words, the pain of an inevitable decision began to surface. The request for a divorce wasn't a total surprise to Michael, but the way the words were spoken cut deeper than he could have imagined. Emily spoke of a future that seemed increasingly distant, and of a relationship that appeared to be on the brink of collapse. Emily's decision felt like the final straw in a cup already overflowing. Michael was devastated. The pain and loss he was already dealing with now merged with the loss of his family, his home. The thought of starting over, without the woman who had been his partner through everything, was a blow that seemed immeasurable. The night was marked by an oppressive silence, where the echoes of words, spoken and unspoken, reverberated through the walls. Michael and Emily were on the verge of a separation that seemed inevitable, and their future now unfolded on a path that was uncertain and painful. The house, once filled with laughter and warmth, was now wrapped in an oppressive silence. Michael found himself in a space that felt both familiar and strangely empty. The rooms, now devoid of Emily and Lily's presence, echoed with a melancholy that pierced deep into his heart. The emptiness of the house was a cruel metaphor for the emptiness Michael felt inside. Every morning as he woke up, he felt the weight of the absence beside him, and the reality of his new situation seemed almost surreal. He spent the mornings wandering through rooms that now felt bigger and colder. The presence of Emily and the sound of Lily's laughter were missing, and the life that once felt clear and full of purpose was now shrouded in a fog of desolation. Michael clung to a rigid routine to cope with the pain. He started each day early, heading out for the relentless job search, but hope was scarce, and frustration was abundant. The doors that closed behind him seemed to shut out not just opportunities but also the certainty that things would return to normal. The act of job hunting had become a solitary ritual, a constant struggle against a situation that felt unchangeable. The nights were particularly hard. The silence of the house, which had once been a place of peace and comfort, now felt overwhelming. Michael found himself sitting alone in the living room, surrounded by simple furniture and still unpacked boxes, trying to distract himself with mundane tasks. The constant thought of Emily and Lily living their own lives elsewhere made every minute of solitude an emotional torment. The pain of losing his family wasn't just emotional, it was physical. Every memory, every photo of past moments became a painful reminder of what had been lost. Michael tried to stay busy, focused on work and rebuilding his life, but the sense of loss was a constant weight on his shoulders. He felt as though he was swimming in a sea of sadness, fighting against invisible currents that threatened to pull him under. Friends and family tried to offer support, but the true loneliness Michael felt was something no one could fully understand. Words of comfort and gestures of support often felt empty in the face of the magnitude of his pain. He wondered if he would ever overcome the grief of losing his family, and if the hole in his heart could ever be filled. Each day was a struggle to find a reason to keep going, to turn the pain into a source of strength. Michael continued to get up, to go out job hunting, and to face the loneliness with a quiet determination. The pain of seeing his family leave was a constant shadow, but he held on to the hope that someday, the light of recovery would finally break through the dark clouds that now surrounded his life. Michael's routine had become an unrelenting dance with adversity. Every morning, before dawn, he was already up, braving the winter cold that seemed to mirror the coldness of his situation. The coffee he drank was more a survival ritual than a pleasure, and the sunlight, which once warmed his days, now felt like a distant memory. Michael dressed with meticulous care, as if the act of preparing for an interview could somehow change his fate. The suit, which not long ago symbolized success, now felt like a battle uniform. He approached each interview with a firm posture, his eyes shining with a fierce determination that belied the pain he carried inside. The commute to the office, the smell of corporate hallways, and the sound of the phone ringing had become part of a wearying routine. Michael had walked a difficult and often lonely path. His days were filled with interviews that sometimes ended in empty promises and frustrated hopes. The echo of "sorry, but not this time" became a constant refrain in his mind. Yet Michael didn't allow disappointment to defeat him. He forced himself to keep going, to send out more resumes, to search for new opportunities with an almost desperate persistence. Each rejection was a blow, but it also served as a reminder that he was still in the fight. He didn't let frustration paralyze him. Instead, it fueled his determination. His nights were dedicated to perfecting his personal presentation. Michael revised and updated his resume, practiced answers to tough questions, and prepared for upcoming opportunities. He invested time and effort into every detail, believing that his persistence, no matter how painful, would eventually open doors. The loneliness of the journey was a constant challenge. Michael often found himself alone in a local cafe, sitting in front of his laptop, while the world around him moved on without pause. Other cafe patrons seemed unaware of his silent battle, absorbed in their own routines. But for Michael, each small step forward, each positive response, was a victory, a sign that his effort was not in vain. And despite the sleepless nights and days filled with uncertainty, Michael kept rising. He found strength in the small victories, a returned call, a promising interview, a sincere compliment from an interviewer. Michael's persistence was his most powerful weapon, a faint light that continued to shine through the shadows of adversity. He knew that as long as he kept fighting, hope was always within reach, even if success seemed distant. Michael was sitting at the kitchen table, the clock on the wall marking the start of another day. The morning light streamed through the windows, casting a soft glow over the pile of papers and resumes spread across the table. The routine of interviews and rejections had become a constant in his life, but Michael held on to hope, even when exhaustion threatened to overtake him. That morning, as he checked his email for the 1,000th time, a notification popped up. Job offer. Michael's heart raced. The message felt almost surreal, a promising light at the end of a dark tunnel. He clicked on the email with a mix of excitement and apprehension. The job offer was clear and straightforward, but what really caught Michael's eye was the salary. A figure that not only exceeded what he had earned before, but seemed almost unimaginable. What might have been just another piece of news for someone else was, for Michael, a miracle. He read and reread the email, making sure he wasn't dreaming. With a feeling of controlled euphoria, Michael replied to the email, confirming his acceptance. The sense of relief and accomplishment was almost tangible. He felt a weight lifting from his shoulders, a burden that had seemed endless for months. Life was, at last, giving him a second chance. The first day at his new job was a mix of nerves and excitement. As Michael walked into the office, he was greeted by a vibrant and positive atmosphere. The environment was full of energy, with colleagues who seemed genuinely happy to have him there. The new office was modern and well lit, a stark contrast to the gloomy space where he had spent so much time before. The feeling of starting fresh was invigorating. Michael threw himself into his new responsibilities, finding renewed purpose in every task he undertook. The challenge of the new job was a gift in disguise, and the sense of value he was receiving was priceless. The greatest gift, however, was the change in perspective. Michael began to see a future that looked brighter and full of possibilities. The promises of a higher salary and a revitalized career were more than just numbers. They were tangible signs that he was recovering and moving forward. The new job wasn't just a position, it was a symbol that his effort and perseverance were finally paying off. Michael's joy and gratitude were evident. He had managed to overcome one of the most challenging periods of his life and was now on the path to rebuilding his future. This turning point was more than just a professional achievement. It was an emotional rebirth and a reaffirmation that even in the greatest adversities, hope and determination can eventually lead to a new beginning. Autumn arrived, painting the city in shades of orange and gold. As Michael enjoyed his new job and a revitalized life, Emily, his ex-wife, began to face the consequences of her choices. The new season brought with it a fresh perspective, and for Emily, a painful reflection on the recent past. The first few months after the divorce were tumultuous for Emily. She tried to focus on her own life, but the weight of her decision became more apparent as time passed. The life she had built after the separation wasn't filling the void she felt. Her days were filled with a quiet loneliness and her nights with restless thoughts. Emily watched Michael's life from a distance, keeping up with the little details through social media and updates from mutual friends. She saw posts about his new job, the house he was renovating, and photos that showed a renewed and happy expression on his face. Each new success felt like a stab to her own pain. One day, while sitting in a local cafe, flipping through an old photo album, an image of Michael and Lily, captured in a moment of pure happiness, caught her eye. Michael's smile, now tied to a new phase of success, was a painful reminder of the life she had left behind. The memories of shared moments, of laughter and dreams for the future, became a constant torment. Emily's pain intensified. She began to realize that the decision to separate, made with the hope of finding a more secure and stable life, was far from bringing the peace she had anticipated. The insecurity she had felt back then now manifested as deep and visceral regret. Life with Michael, despite its challenges, had been filled with an emotional connection that she now understood she had lost. Emily tried to fill the void with new friendships and activities, but nothing seemed to be enough to make up for the loss. The late realization of how important Michael was in her life was a painful truth she struggled to accept. The separation had not only taken away a fundamental part of her identity, but also left a hole in her heart that seemed impossible to fill. Regret became a constant in Emily's life. She began to see life through a lens of melancholy, reflecting on what could have been and what had truly been lost. The rushed decisions and the desire to escape difficulties had created a path that now seemed irreversible. One day, Emily decided to reach out to Michael. The words she had kept inside for so long were finally ready to be spoken. However, when she faced Michael, now a man on the rise and stronger than before, her words of regret felt small and inadequate. What was meant to be an apology and an attempt at reconciliation seemed like a distant echo in the face of the realization that the consequences of her actions had been deeper than she had imagined. Emily faced the harsh reality that what had been lost could not be regained. The pain of regret wrapped around her like a heavy cloak, a constant reminder that hasty decisions can have lasting repercussions, and that time often does not offer the chance to fix the past. As winter gave way to spring, Michael felt a renewed energy in his life. The new job, though challenging, had brought a sense of fulfillment and hope. However, the true breath of new life came in an unexpected way. It was at a local art fair, on a sunny afternoon with a clear sky and the air scented by freshly blooming flowers, that Michael met Clara. He was wandering through the stalls, looking at the artwork and trying to distract himself from an especially tiring week. The colors and shapes of the art seemed to have a new appeal to him, offering an escape from reality and a glimpse of beauty amidst the everyday routine. Clara was at a booth, surrounded by her own creations, vibrant paintings and delicate sculptures that captured the essence of an artistic and loving spirit. Her warm smile and the way she interacted with visitors drew Michael in immediately. There was something genuine about her, something that made the atmosphere feel even more welcoming and lively. Michael approached and their conversation started casually but quickly deepened. Clara was passionate about what she did, and her dedication was evident in every word. She spoke with a spark in her eyes that made Michael feel seen and understood in a new way. The talks that began about art and interests soon expanded into deeper discussions about life, dreams, and values. The connection between Michael and Clara was instant and authentic. He found himself captivated by how she valued loyalty and support, qualities Michael felt had been missing in his previous relationship. Clara offered a kind of emotional security that Michael had found hard to come by. Her presence was a source of comfort and joy, a breath of fresh air that made him feel like something real and lasting was beginning to take shape. As their relationship developed, Michael began to see life in a new light. Clara wasn't just a partner, she was a constant source of inspiration and support. Their time together was filled with deep conversations and genuine laughter. They explored new interests together, enjoyed outdoor adventures, and shared simple moments that, for Michael, held deep significance. The happiness Michael found with Clara was a wonderful and revitalizing surprise. He felt like he was starting a new chapter in his life, one where love and loyalty were the main characters. Clara not only accepted Michael as he was, but also helped him grow and find a new sense of purpose and joy. With Clara by his side, Michael began to rebuild not only his professional life but also his personal life in a way he never thought possible. Her presence confirmed that, even after the greatest adversities and disappointments, it was possible to find something true and lasting. Clara's love became the anchor that solidified Michael's new beginning, a start filled with hope and promises for the future. As the months passed, Emily began to face the consequences of her decision. The time that was supposed to bring relief only intensified her regret. Each day dragged on, and she found herself constantly reflecting on what could have been. It was a gray afternoon when Emily met up with an old friend at a cozy cafe in the city center. She tried to hide the weight she was carrying, but the sadness was evident in her eyes. The friend, noticing the change, asked a simple yet profound question. "How are you coping with all of this?" The words came out like a long repressed confession. Emily spoke about the growing loneliness and the difficulty in finding satisfaction in her new life. She described the moments of joy she and Michael had shared, now seen through the lens of constant pain. The decision to separate, which had seemed so necessary at the time, now felt like a colossal mistake. The friend, understanding and patient, listened as Emily recounted the flaws in her choice. She talked about how her expectation of a better life had unraveled into a reality that was bleak and unfulfilling. The promises of a more secure future had been replaced by a sadness that seemed never-ending. Emily described how she tried to comfort herself with memories of Michael and Lily, but those images of happy moments had now become a source of pain. The feeling of having lost the chance to be part of a life that, despite its challenges, was full of love and support. Regret was evident in every word, every sigh, and every gaze lost in the distance. As she talked, Emily realized the cost of her decision. Seeing Michael now, with Clara, in a relationship that seemed to be flourishing, made her own choice feel even more painful. She wondered if the chance to build something meaningful with Michael had been irreparably lost. What once seemed like a temporary mistake now revealed itself as a permanent loss. Emily's sadness deepened as she reflected on what was and what could have been. The image of Michael, with his new life and the happiness he had found, stood in stark contrast to the emptiness she now felt. The late realization that her choice had been rushed and wrong was a weight she carried with each passing day. The cafe, with its peaceful atmosphere, became the backdrop for Emily's lament. She mourned not only the past, but also the future, which now seemed bleak and uncertain. The pain of having made a decision that had irrevocably changed the course of their lives was becoming an undeniable and inescapable truth. Emily felt the weight of responsibility for her choice and its consequences. The regret and sadness were reflections of a decision that seemed to have closed not just a chapter, but an entire story of love and hope. She was now facing the harsh reality that sometimes wrong decisions can come at a very high price, a price paid with the loss of something precious and irreplaceable. What would you do in Emily's place? Would you have divorced Michael when he needed you most? Comment below what you would do, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so you don't miss any stories like this.